you know, and then she'll hit me. Did you ever get this done? And I'm
Like,
like,
what?
yeah.
I'm trying to figure out like the rotation because I have like my duties are kind of in different categories. So there's like public records, there's a review coordinator, there'll be other stuff coming, but finances. So it's like, let me do a little bit of this in the morning, a little bit of this in the afternoon.
But if you ever need anything, just reach out.
I will sure do it.
Now it's Brooke. Is she out? Or
Yeah.
Brooke?
I thought about you a
She's
couple
on-
times. I was like,
She's gonna be coming back.
where's your USA player?
Saturday.
That had to be such a
Okay.
But I'm learning from Michelle at this meeting that I'm doing the next one.
I'd like to welcome you to the March meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board and call it to order. If you will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
No, Chairman, there are not.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. You want to, you're voting member, Arthur. Yep, okay. That's unanimous. For the minutes last time, I was not here, so people who were here, are there any changes or issues?
No.
They were quite short. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
The minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? I will recuse myself since I was not here, so that's 4-0. So we can move on to number 5, the presentation from Aaron Hudson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. All right. Let's see here. Trying to remember how to use this full screen. Oops, sorry. All right, we'll just zoom in here. Just make this easy on everybody. All right, so I'm Erin Hudson. I'm the Communications and Outreach Director with the town. So I've been in that role since June of last year, but I've been with the town about 10 and a half years, almost 11 years. So I am going to each of our advisory committees and just sharing a little bit of information about what our Communications and Outreach Department does. Here on the screen in front of you, you see our current org chart. So we are a mighty team of 5. We each have some specific things in each of our roles that we manage, but we really work collaboratively together within our department and then also with the other departments in the town. You also see there in the top right corner, various organizations, professional organizations that we are members of. Those organizations provide us training, growth, and development opportunities and allow those of us that didn't have quite as much local government experience to continue growing and learning in each of our respective roles. All right, so what exactly is it that we do? Who remembers from grade school the 5 W's? Show of hands. Yes, okay. So we focus on the 5 W's plus H, the who, what, where, when, why, and how. We are really focused on storytelling, but at a really professional, detailed level. So we have to know a little bit about a lot of things. We have to be subject matter experts to a degree, not only in what we do, but also in what's happening in other departments with the town. Also in the priorities of our town council. Also in the priorities and the desires of our community. So we have to keep an eye and an ear open to what's happening not only within our work group, but also what's happening around us. Like going on to the next bullet, the who, that's everyone. That's our elected officials, our leadership, those who live, work, play, engage, visit here in the town. It also has to be timely and accurate. We don't have the luxury of sending out information that is inaccurate because that erodes any public trust that we might have. We also aim to send out information and share details in a timely manner, but we also want to err on the side of caution. We're not going to send anything out too soon or share detail ahead of a time that we might have been able to vet details. A case in point would be with the recent apartment fire a few weeks ago. We work really closely with our police and fire departments in a public information capacity because we want to get the specific details from them that we are able to share in the appropriate time. We also want to ensure we're sharing that information with our leadership so that they are able to share that and able to share with their constituents as well. What we don't do is immediately respond to the media until we have confirmed details. The media is going to ask all the questions. That's their job. That's what they do. But we have to say, you know what? It's an ongoing investigation. We can only confirm information that we have and are available to share. But we, again, aren't going to err on the side of sharing something just because we've been asked or sharing something too soon. We're going to rely on the expertise of our staff. We're going to rely on the factual evidence, and we're going to share it in a time that's appropriate and valid. Ways that we get that information out. We have a very robust redesigned website that was launched, the redesign back in October of last year. We have very active social media channels. We have a main town social media, Facebook and Instagram. We also have YouTube, Nextdoor, several others. And then we have a few different department accounts as well. Fire, police, Parks and Rec. And if anyone's not following our Stormwater Facebook, I encourage you to do that because Meditation Monday is a great way to start off your week. We have a variety of newsletters. A lot of those have switched to digital versions, just in an effort to maintain commitment to sustainability here in the town. We have a weekly e-newsletter called Next Week in Morrisville that comes out each Friday. We have monthly newsletters. Our Parks Department sends out a monthly newsletter. One member of my staff issues a monthly HOA newsletter. We also have a monthly small business newsletter that comes from our Economic Development Department. We issue a biannual connection newsletter. That used to be quarterly, it used to be printed. But what we found with that is that information got outdated really quickly. If anyone follows the news, is a news junkie like some of us are, you know things change so fast. The second you print it, it becomes outdated. So again, making sure that we're abiding by our sustainability commitments. We are trying to digitize content and delivery as much as we can. One, to again, maintain those sustainability commitments, but also to ensure that we are conveying accurate and timely information to the community. We have a lot of graphic and video content that we produce internally. The team of folks that I work with are really talented by way of photography, of graphic development, of video editing. We have put together a number of things. We have a monthly town center update video that comes out on our YouTube channel. It's also linked on our capital projects page. It's quick, it's short, it's to the point, but it gets the message across. We also do press releases. We have those coming out relatively frequently right now because we've got a lot of things going on. And we want to make sure that the media community is aware and that they have the details they need because we'd love for them to participate and cover those events with the town. We've done several feature articles in the last few months, either by request for interview or by podcast or just participating in an area or regional publication. Again, interviews as requested, we help coordinate those. It might be with staff, it might be with our elected officials, but we just want to make sure that everybody is comfortable in sharing appropriate information. So the reason that we do what we do is because information equals education, and an informed community can be an engaged community. We want to be open, we want to be honest, we want to be transparent, but we want to follow those 5 W's. Because we want to be able to inform folks. We want to ask the important questions, we want to share the relevant information, and that gives us the best efforts in storytelling, but really in strategic storytelling. So just a few quick highlights of some of the things that we've been working on over the last 6 to 9 months. Resident education programs come out of the Communication and Outreach Department. So I know several of you have participated in Morrisville 101. We also have a teen 101 program. So we've completed at least 25 Morrisville 101 classes. We've graduated well over 200 individuals. The Teen 101 class completed its 10th class and has had over 100 young adults complete that class. The communications department has also assisted with the updates to our sponsorship and naming rights policies, working through some of that language content with town council now, so that we can continue to work with our consultant on that. The language access plan is also housed in the communications department. That plan was formally adopted by council in February of 2024. I actually will be bringing an update to council on our strategic communications and language access plan at the March 24th meeting. So if you're interested to see sort of how those things have evolved, feel free to tune in or join that meeting and see what we've been doing. Again, our website redesign was launched in October of last year. A few things led to that redesign. We had a fair amount of feedback from internal and external stakeholder user groups, just to let us know of some of the challenges they had experienced, be it with either navigation or search, or just general confusion on how to find things. Our site was a little bit older, so we took that as an opportunity to do some focus groups, do some outreach, and understand really what it was that people were desiring in a local government website. It also gave us an opportunity to ensure that our site redesign was fully ADA and WCAG compliant. The Department of Justice has issued some mandated compliance that all state and local governments have ADA and WCAG compliant websites, either this year or next year based on population size. So we're very fortunate. Our website has checked those boxes. Some of that compliance mandate also follows over into documents that are on your website. So that's really some of the next steps that staff is going to be undertaking. We work closely with our partners at Economic Development and Small Business, again, ensuring that information gets out to our business owner community. And while communications no longer plans events, we're still very much a partner in town events. One of our staff members took a lead role in assisting with the Town Center groundbreaking event last fall, which was a wonderful day and a great event for the town to celebrate that milestone. So just a couple of influences that impact the way that we work. Standardizing communication protocols. As I mentioned, anyone familiar with the communications field or with the way that communications works understands that things change pretty rapidly. So it's important for us to have a standard set of work practices. We are aiming to digitize content. We're aiming to ensure that we provide the highest level of service delivery at every turn. And then ensure that we are being inclusive so that we're meeting people's needs, meeting them where they are. As I mentioned at the start, very, very talented group of staff that I work with. Several of them, again, have myriad skills, skills in graphic design, content development, videography, photography, all of those things. So we're able to cross-collaborate and support one another's workloads. Several of them also did not come from local government backgrounds. Doesn't mean that they are not still fully adept and skilled, just finding those, again, growth and development opportunities to continue to hone those skills in a local government framework. As quickly as the world of communications changes, technology changes even faster. So we instituted a work ticket process back in, I believe, late summer, early fall last year, so that when internal departments have communications related needs, they can issue that ticket. We all can see that. We can assign those work items appropriately. We are continuing to evaluate and assess and demo different products that come our way so that we can ensure that we are working most effectively and efficiently. We have a number of translation and interpretation technologies that we vetted and found the ones that work most effectively for us to help us facilitate our language access plan. And we continue to look at other tools that we might be able to supplement while we continue to work through the ADA and WCAG compliance pieces. Strategic communications, again, this goes back to storytelling. Are we communicating as much as we should? Are we communicating too little? Are we telling the story in the most timely manner? Do we need to continue, or do we need to communicate more consistently? So we're continuously evaluating and assessing to ensure that we're meeting those standards for our work and for our community. We're also managing information overload. We don't want to put too much out or too quickly. We also know that survey fatigue is a real thing, and I'm seeing a lot of head nods. So we know that we want community engagement and we want community feedback, but not at the detriment of our community seeing one more request for a survey and not wanting to participate. So we're continuously evaluating creative ways to engage the community and ensuring that we can find effective ways to work together and find ways for you all to participate and engage with us, and for us to still be able to garner feedback and information that we need. Again, just a couple initiatives that we're working on. I've already touched on pretty much all of these. One of the things that I haven't mentioned yet is along the lines of digitized content. We have moved what used to be fully hard copy packets of a new resident welcome packet to a postcard. So now new residents to the town receive a postcard with a QR code. They go to the website and it has all of the exact same information that they would have gotten. What we were also seeing happen is we had this backlog or backstock of printed materials, and if we didn't use it all by a certain time, then it became outdated. Then we got a .gov website extension, and a lot of our materials had our .org website extension. So just being mindful of what we do determine needs to be printed, and then being mindful of any quantities that we have printed of things like that. We're also working with administrative staff on wayfinding, signage, and branding, and that also sort of trickles into the town center wayfinding and branding. We're looking at other creative ways to extend town brand guidelines to allow departments maybe a little more flexibility and creativity, not looking at all at a rebranding effort, but just ways that departments can showcase their uniqueness. Our tagline is Live Connected, Live Well. Maybe planning wants to have a tagline specific to them that's Live Connected, Live Well, and Plan. Maybe Parks wants to be Live Connected, Live Well, and Play. None of that is official. It is all very theoretic, but just options and opportunities to give us more uniqueness and ways to showcase what we do here in Morrisville and how that aligns back to our brand. Okay, so just a couple of examples. In any one of these pictures here, you don't see a single soul from the Communications and Outreach Department. However, we are all very intertwined in each of these. On the far left is a screenshot of a social media post, and that is the result of a collaborative effort with staff requesting a need, working together with our social media coordinator to ensure that that information gets shared so that that reaches the community. Then in the top picture, you again see the town center groundbreaking from last September. As I mentioned, our staff was very heavily involved there with planning and coordination. If anyone is unfamiliar, that dirt did not come from the ground there. It was a coordinated effort to have that delivered. We also coordinated to find a number of shovels, which we then tied ribbons on. And we procured helmets from our engineering friends, and arranged a lot of things because we wanted it to be a really special and unique experience, because that is such, again, a landmark opportunity for the town, and it really was something to be celebrated. The picture of the map there, that is an image that began at International Festival, I believe 2 years ago. Our language access plan and our communications specialist, Anu Mishra, she took that image and just asked folks to put a pin wherever they were from, and just share sort of how all of our stories here in Morrisville, whether you live here, work here, play here, visit here, just really span a lot of places. We brought it back to Morrisville last year and got some new pins. We had one in Greenland, one in Australia or New Zealand, and just a couple of different places. So it was really cool to see how Morrisville, a town of 34,000 and change, was drawing folks who weren't from here, but we can all come together over a s'mores. The bottom right image is the first economic development announcement that my team did after I took this position. We worked very closely with our economic development director, Tiffany McNeil, worked very closely with Wake County. We also worked very closely with the German company who was making this announcement. Weeks of communication, conversation. We had a plan for this announcement. When we got to the site, the AV would not work in the room that we were set up in. We had to do some pivoting. So my staff and the staff on site at the location worked together. We were able to rearrange some things, able to make sure we had a setup for media to produce or project and capture, and it looked intentional, like it was set up that way. So one of the things that I think we do best is we're able to assess and evaluate and respond. We work pretty well in a crisis. So was very, very proud of the work that our team did that day. If you are not already following or engaged with the town on all of our platforms, I encourage you to do so. The more you engage, the more each of the platforms learns and understands what it is you're interested in, and we'll continue to share that kind of information with you and bring that more to your attention. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you, that was very informative. It is interesting following the different accounts and seeing all the posts that you put out. The stormwater one is particularly cool. But any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I can move on to the, lost it. I think it was item 6, yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank
The project before you is a rezoning for a portion of 1800 Strand Street. This is to Conditional Business Activity Center Gateway Overlay. To give you a general idea, we have part of McCrimmon Parkway right here. This is part of the overall pathway project. And then,
sorry, I'm not sure your microphone is on.
is it not on? Okay. Erin did the excellent job of turning the microphone off when she walked away, and then I didn't realize it was off. Sorry about that. just to go back, this is a conditional rezoning before you. This is for a portion of property called 1800 Strand Street. It is part of the overall pathway development. It is that this area within the red line is what is actually being rezoned with this particular project. The owner is King Street Properties, and the piece that's being rezoned is approximately 4.6 acres. The applicant is proposing to change the rezoning from the existing district, which is Business Activity Center Gateway Overlay District, to conditional Business Activity Center Gateway Overlay District. As I said a second ago, it's just this area within the line. It was red a moment ago because that showed up better. It's blue now because that shows up better on here. To kind of orient you to the other zoning districts, all of this reddish dashed hatched area is also our BAC GO district. This entire larger section here is the overall pathway project. On the other side of the street, we have, of course I just lost the name, is the Spark project. And then down south here is the Wake Competition Center. And then we have our industrial management section here. This is a few larger, medium-sized industrial projects and an industrial park as well. And then over here in this kind of beigeish color, that indicates that that's Town of Cary, and this is their resource and recreation district. This larger vicinity map is just zoomed out a little bit further to give you a better idea of roughly where we are and the other types of uses that exist a little bit further out from the property. The 2021 future land use map designates this property as Business Activity Center, which is consistent with the rezoning that's being proposed and the existing zoning district. Novartis has an existing agreement with the King Street Properties that you may have heard about recently or read about online. This is to bring a packaging and quality control lab to one of the existing buildings on the northern portion of this property. That commitment will bring several new high-paying jobs to the town and a large capital investment as well. This rezoning is a portion of a different project under the same umbrella to bring the manufacturing of those medications to the town, which is expected to bring more jobs and additional investment as well. To produce those medications, Novartis needs to be able to store large quantities of chemicals outdoors in above-ground tanks. This is currently prohibited in the UDO, or by the UDO in our airport overlay district, as well as in our outdoor storage section of the ordinance. The conditional rezoning process is the best way for the town to bring this forward because it allows the town council to both loosen and tighten differing aspects of the UDO in a site-specific way, instead of trying to amend the UDO and hope that we get the right one-size-fits-all amendment and set of criteria. This slide shows a proposed sketch plan for Building 7, which is the building that will be impacted by this rezoning. This line, this very dark black line, is the same shape that was shown on the earlier maps for you. And it shows Building 7 as well as the intended outdoor storage tank area. From here out, I'm going to read through the zoning conditions that are proposed, except in a few very specific situations. I'm not going to read them exactly to you. Since they're up on your screens, I'm going to instead give you a high-level overview and explanation of what they're intended to convey. Okay? These conditions were worked out with the applicant, with the property owner and Novartis, as well as with town staff, and they're intended to support safe and responsible chemical storage while providing some relief from certain UDO architectural standards, providing an improved site experience and some additional sustainability standards as well. So The first one on here is, this is very similar language to what's in most of our rezoning conditions. It essentially just says that the approved site plan will be very similar to the sketch that you just saw, while still allowing for some minor adjustments in order to make sure the future site complies with the UDO and any very small minor changes that might need to be made in the future. Number two essentially says that this rezoning will only apply to that outlined area on those earlier maps. It will not apply to the rest of the pathway project, only that particular area. The next one is to override the UDO sections that prohibit outdoor above-ground storage tanks, which containing hazardous material if the required state, local, and federal requirements are met. Since it's not permitted in the UDO, you just have to have we do have to have a statement of some kind to counter that. And then the next one is to say that those same above-ground storage tanks are prohibited within any of our flood hazard areas or 50-foot stream buffer areas. Number 5 is rather lengthy. It basically means if one or more of the tanks has a leak, there has to be an existing backup way to contain those chemicals. Frequently, it'll be something like a wall, a masonry wall around it to make essentially a secondary tank outside of that. That containment has to be able to hold at least 150% of the amount of the leaking chemicals and any water that the fire department may use if that leak causes a fire, for example. The town engineer and fire marshal are required to approve any of that backup containment. And any future changes to that, for example, as technology changes and maybe we want to make things better, or maybe the applicant does, those changes will also have to be approved by the town engineer and the fire marshal. The next says that any outdoor above-ground storage tanks or any other vessels, anything containing hazardous materials must be located in the drainage area of a stormwater control measure. And then just below that, any of the drainage pipes or storage areas for that cannot connect directly to the sanitary sewer system. This next one is fairly self-explanatory. It simply says that the total amount of storage space within any tanks cannot exceed 290,000 gallons on this parcel. That's including any waste that they need to store that's left over from their manufacturing processes. All of the tanks containing hazardous materials will be covered by a roof unless that's otherwise prohibited by state or federal regulations. The area containing the tanks and the associated loading area for the trucks to pull in and load or unload will be access controlled. This just means that not anybody can walk up. There will be at the very least a gate and secure locks to allow access to specific people instead of just anybody who wants to. All of the outdoor tanks also have to meet the requirements of the town's outdoor storage section. That's what that section 435B20, lots and lots of numbers, means, except as otherwise provided in these zoning conditions. In addition, they'll be screened from off-site view and from the adjacent greenway by a louvered or solid wall, which will be at least as tall as the tallest proposed tank. And the limits of that full height screen are shown on the sketch plan, which I'll click back to again here in a minute. Number 12 simply says that the two architectural standards are being waived or requested to be waived from the building. One of these says that any walls, building walls, that are longer than 100 feet would normally be required to have some recesses and projections in there just to make it a little bit less monotonous. We're asking that this be waived because it'll make it much easier for the applicant to fully and more efficiently use the inside of the building. Plus, this building is intended to be behind another one and very far back from McCrimmon, so it won't be particularly visible anyway. The next one simply says that typically the ground floor facade walls, anything that you can see from the public right-of-way or from driveway aisles or things like that would have things like entry areas and decorative features to it to make it feel more engaging. And this is also being requested to be waived, again, because of that location. It just doesn't seem like it would be particularly beneficial, and this will help them to more efficiently use that space. The maximum height for the building will be up to 83 feet tall. Currently, the zoning district allows 65 feet, so this would give them an additional amount. This particular site also sits fairly low back from Strand. It's about 10 to 12 feet below the actual height of the road. So this doesn't, to town staff, this felt like it was a pretty reasonable request. If exterior lighting is proposed on the building, then that exterior lighting plan can be reviewed and approved prior to the issuance of a certificate of completion for the shell building. Essentially, this just means that they don't have to submit that up front, so it's one way to help them expedite their timeline with getting everything under construction. And instead, they'll have to submit that later before the building itself is signed off on. Okay? The applicants agreed that there will be staff on site for Building 7 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, whenever the plant is in operation. In the very rare instance of a production shutdown, daily walkthroughs of the complete plant would be conducted. They've also agreed to shift the greenway trail at least 10 feet away from the parking lot and drive aisles adjacent to that enclosure, and have sufficient evergreen landscape screening to minimize views of the tank enclosure from the greenway. At least 75% of any of the landscaping planted will be native species or cultivars, and the lower roof of Building 7 will be designed and constructed to support a load equivalent to a future solar panel installation covering at least 25% of the rooftop. So basically, the roof will be strong enough to hold future solar panels that would cover at least 25% of that, making it easier for them to come back and add those in later on when they have a higher energy load that they need. Staff recommends approval for the following reasons. It's compatible with the surrounding zoning districts. The requested amendment would allow for development that's compatible with the developments in the surrounding area, making this orderly and logical. It's consistent with the land use plan's vision and the town's goal of promoting fiscally responsible development and promoting development that will bring high paying jobs and economic development to benefit our residents and property owners, as well as including zoning conditions that permit flexibility in the town standards while supporting public safety and environmental protections, thus upholding the town's strategic plan goal of promoting a business-friendly environment to diversify our economic base. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have for me. The applicant is also here, as well as members of the town's staff. We have our Economic Development Director, Tiffany, is here, as well as our Fire Marshal, Charles, and our Stormwater Manager, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you, sorry. Does anyone from the applicant have anything they want to add, any presentations before we do any discussions, or would you prefer to wait?
They do have a presentation. Would you prefer to go now?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Yep. It's live. Just use the arrows.
If you would just state your name and who you
Yeah,
represent.
absolutely. Good evening, and thank you so much for having us. My name is Rob Zamboldi, and I'm with Novartis Pharmaceuticals. And my responsibilities at Novartis is for our real estate footprint within the United States. And before I even start going through a few brief remarks here, I just want to thank Shelley, Michelle, Tiffany, the whole team at the planning staff for working with us. I must say it's been a very cooperative and very nice experience. So I just wanted to say I appreciate you allowing us to say a few words on this expansion we're planning to do. And I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking a little bit about the company, just so you may not be familiar with Novartis Pharmaceuticals, what exactly we are building and the purpose, why we're asking for this conditional rezoning, talk about the proximity, and especially the safeguards that we have put in place. So just, if you're not familiar with Novartis, it's a large pharmaceutical company with a long, very long history, well over 150 years to be exact. And it's actually the formation of a merger between Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz back in 1996. And for many years, we are a Swiss-based company, by the way. For many years, we operated as a large conglomerate, and over those years, we've spun off many of our businesses to be where we are today, which is an innovative medicines company, what we call a pure play medicines company, focusing on medicine for the benefit of humans. A few statistics that we just wanted to bring up from a size perspective. You can see our sales, about $54 billion in 2025. And of this, we put in well over $10 billion a year in research and development, much of that happening here in the US, in Cambridge and San Diego. Couple things I also want to touch upon is some of our corporate foundations that we look on and we always try to focus on. First of all, it's about people. Second, it's about our technology. And third, it's about building trust with society, which I think is relevant for the topic that we're bringing up today. Novartis is, in a lot of categories, very concerned and very focused on protecting, first, our employees that work in our facilities and in our operations. Second, the community where we operate, and third, the environment. And you'll see that if you look into some of the sustainability efforts that we're putting out there, we are one of the leaders, if not the leader, especially in the pharma area, for sustainability and for protecting the climate and the environment. Last year in April, and I want to bring you to the bottom right, the little snapshot I have, is last year in April, we made an announcement that we would be bringing putting in a $23 billion investment for the purpose of bringing back manufacturing to the United States. And we're remaining true with that purpose through investments such as this, as well as others across the country. And I can say firsthand that I was involved with the search for where we're going to put these manufacturing plants. We had about 13 different states we looked at, and happy to say that 4 of these plants are coming here to North Carolina, and 2 of them to Morrisville. The next piece I want to go through is a little bit about before I even talk about that, is just to also just reiterate our focus as a focus on the environment and a focus on doing things above and beyond what the communities and our peers are doing out there from a sustainability perspective, and to show that we've reached these targets for 2025 and continued on our sustainability goals for 2030, where we'll be a net zero carbon neutral organization. So I'll talk a minute about explaining a little bit about what it is that we're building and proposing for this Building 7 site, and a bit about why we're asking for this conditional rezoning. And this facility is classified as a small molecule facility, which is a fancy way of saying pills and tablets. And one thing that's unique about what Novartis is doing in the United States is we're bringing back what we call end-to-end manufacturing. Typically, manufacturing processes for pharmaceuticals are unit operations. And in this case, some of those unit operations for many, many years have been shipped overseas. In this case, we're bringing everything back. So there are 2 projects in Morrisville. The one that has been already signed and moving forward, where we had the groundbreaking back in December on, is where we manufacture the tablet and put it into the package. The one we're talking about today is the chemical manufacturing for the raw materials, which will go into that. And that is the reason why we're so keen on having this facility very close adjacent to the building 2 that we've already had an agreement with Pathway Triangle about. This facility is, for drug substance manufacturing, is, as I said, it's an end-to-end process, and this is the beginning stages of that. In this facility, we will have products which treat all different modalities, all different types of diseases. One of our most popular, probably our number one product that we have in the US is a product called Kisqali, which is for metastatic and early treatment of breast cancer. This will be manufactured here in Morrisville from end to end, from start to finish, with the approval of this facility. One point I want to bring out is the reason why we ask for the 80-foot height of this facility. Typically, the manufacturing process for a drug substance building like this is gravity fed. So that's the requirement, that's the reason why we're asking for the height. Without that gravity feed, the process becomes very cumbersome and not something that we would look to build in any other way other than that gravity fed. So that's the reason for the 80-foot ask. The other portion that we're asking for is about the storage facility. The processes that we use require a fair amount of solvents that go into the manufacturing process in order to reach our end target. And those chemicals and solvents need to be stored in large tanks. These tanks generally are above ground for purposes of environmental and safety reasons. The environmental piece is because if there is ever any sort of a leak, we would like to know ahead of time rather than having it in the ground. And on the on the maintenance piece of them, having them above ground is something where we can see and take care of and do the maintenance that's necessary for these tanks as they go through their lifespan. If I could direct you to the bottom right picture on this slide, it's showing the construction of a similar type of application. And you can see the tank inside of the wall. This would be a similar rendering of what we would be constructing here. However, you see this is during construction, it would be fully enclosed with a full roof and fully enclosed structure around the tanks. The last piece that we're asking for is around, we talked about the facade wall. This is for design criteria for the clean room operations that would happen inside this facility. And without this type of straight designs, it makes it very cumbersome and difficult to design the facility. I think one important piece is the proximity to within the Pathway Business Park on where this plant will be placed. And for that, I wanted to pass it off to Andrew Castrobarity from King Street, who will talk a little bit about the placement within the Pathway Triangle area.
Thanks, Rob. Andrew Castrobarity from King Street Properties. Thank you for your time tonight. Before I jump into the location, I'll just mention that we've also received a height permit from RDU relative to the height request. So just wanted to note that for everyone's benefit here. So King Street, we had the owner and developer of Pathway Triangle, and we also own East Ridge at Perimeter Park, which is a 500,000 square foot campus that's office and flex manufacturing on Airport Boulevard. These investments, both at Pathway and East Ridge, demonstrate our long-term commitment to Morrisville and our strong belief that the town's continued growth as a premier hub for life science and manufacturing. With that background, I'll touch on the deliberate location of the building, which Shelley did a great job of explaining earlier, but you can see the proposed building 7 bordered in red on the screen in front of you. So first, the building is located within the interior of the Pathway Triangle campus, which is a purpose-built, employment-focused life science and advanced manufacturing environment. The point being is that the site is surrounded by like-kinded buildings, research building, manufacturing buildings, and commercial buildings, ensuring compatibility with the surrounding land uses. Second, the building was intentionally positioned deeper within the campus, a substantial distance away from McCrimmon Parkway, which allows the facility to be set behind other buildings. Building 4 is immediately in front of it, in between the Building 7 and Strand Street, which creates a natural buffer and separation, limiting visibility of the building from the public realm and adjacent buildings. The location also leverages existing campus infrastructure and internal circulation, meaning traffic, service, access, and operations occur within the campus rather than impacting the surrounding streets. Finally, it's important to remember that pharmaceutical manufacturing occurs entirely within enclosed, highly regulated facilities, as Rob explained. So the operations themselves do not generate offsite impacts such as noise, odor, or emissions beyond regulatory thresholds. Taken together, the building's location within an established advanced manufacturing campus, its interior placement away from the public frontage, and fully enclosed nature of the operations ensure that the project integrates responsibly with the surrounding area while advancing Morrisville's vision from the McCrimmon corridor as a premier life science hub. For those reasons, we believe the location reflects thoughtful planning, minimizes potential impacts on the community, and supports an orderly development process as outlined in the town's comprehensive plan. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Jeff Lewis from Arcadis, who's going to speak to some of the specific safeguards included in the building and tank farm itself.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name's Jeff Lewis. I am with Arcadis. I am a licensed chemical engineer with over 20 years of experience. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Wilson, about an hour east of here. I'm the son of a first responder. My dad was a fireman with over 30, he retired with over 30 years of experience with the city of Wilson. I know what it's like to get that call in the middle of the night and have a loved one rush off to serve their community. So a professional engineer's number one duty is to protect the safety and welfare of the public. So with that, I'm going to talk about some of the safeguards of the facility. So this facility will store Class 1B flammable liquids. Anytime in industry when you have flammable liquid handling, there are tons of safeguards that must be implemented. So there will be a detailed process hazard analysis that will be conducted. So this is a systematic approach to identify the hazards, what could go wrong, and the safeguards that are implemented to provide safety against. There are certain key codes that we must adhere to in designing this facility. OSHA, NFPA, the North Carolina Building Code, North Carolina Fire Code. We must also adhere to the guidelines of the insurance provider, FM Global of Novartis. Novartis also has their own design guidelines. Both the FM guidelines and the Novartis design guidelines exceed code and are more stringent. So this will be a robust design. One thing that you will see in life sciences is the use of robust materials of construction. The tanks in the storage facility are 316-ounce stainless steel or a glass-lined vessel. So one of the things that I want to talk about is the fire triangle. So you need three things to have a fire. You need the fuel, you need oxygen, and you need an ignition source. So this is a closed process. There is no opening up of the tanks and allowing the vapors to escape. So inside the tank, you'll have the liquid up to a certain level, and then above that, there will be an inert atmosphere. So what that means is that headspace of the tank will be filled with nitrogen. There will be no oxygen present. Also, there will be all the electrical components within that storage facility will be designed to not cause ignition. All the equipment and piping we bonded and grounded to prevent ignition from static electricity. So we're removing 2 of the 3 legs of the fire triangle. This is a highly automated process. It will have multiple independent layers of protection for safety critical devices. So what that means is, so if your tank, you have a level in there to monitor the level of the tank. So that level device will be monitoring it as the tank fills up, actions will occur, right? So if you want to prevent from overfilling, it'll make sure that it shuts down the pumps, closes valves. That device were to fail, there is a backup device that will stand in and do the same actions. This will be true for all safety critical devices. We will also have safety interlocks with vapor monitoring and fire alarm. So there will be vapor monitoring throughout the space, and if it senses the presence of vapors, it will shut down the pumps, close all the valves, render the facility to a safe state. Same thing with the fire alarm. If the main manufacturing building fire alarm goes off, or if the fire alarm in the storage facility goes off, all the pumps shut down, the valves close, safe state for the storage facility. So a few things about the storage facility fire protection. So the code identifies the minimum separation distances for flammable liquid tanks from buildings, the property lines, within spaces adjacent to each other. So the distances for this will all exceed code requirements based off our design. There will be an automatic fire detection alarm system, as I was just describing. There will also be a deluge system. So what that will do is discharge a large volume of fire suppression solution in the event of activation. Each tank will have its own deluge zone. We will also have fire water containment. We'll be able to contain 1.5 times the largest volume of the tank and 20 minutes of sprinkler water. That's subject to increase based off of FM requirements. We're expecting that to be at least 30. These are just a few of the safeguards for the facility and the process.
Right. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, this is just in summary and in conclusion, we just listed here the relief that we're asking for the conditional rezoning. And just really want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to present, and happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, do we have any questions or comments from the board? I guess we can start down with Sushma.
I'm not sure if there are any public comments.
Do we have public, does this require public comment? I'm sorry. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to speak on this before we?
No one has signed up, Chairman, but I'll ask, is there anyone from the public in the audience that would like to speak for up to 3 minutes?
We have none. So then I guess we'll have our discussion. You guys can stay there, or you can wait and see if we have, there'll be different comments from different people, so. Okay. Yeah. Sushma, did you have any comments? Okay. Arthur, you're new. Just give you a chance to splash right in.
Yeah, none for me at the moment.
We'll circle back around and get them. So. Kristen?
Yeah, so thank you for all the information. I had written down some questions, and I think you answered some of them as you were going, so that was very helpful. And I guess this question might be more for town staff, but are there other plants like this already in Morrisville or in RTP? Like, is this something that we already have and we want to get more of?
There are other biomanufacturing plants. Generally, most of them are smaller within Morrisville, but there are other ones that are similar. None of the other ones have this particular combination of items, and within RTP, there are definitely others as well. Okay. These generally bring very high-paying jobs, so it's typically something that the region would like to see more of.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Thank you. And I guess just trying to understand a little bit more about, so you said these are above ground. Is there like an option for underground? Is that something that people don't do now because of like water, impact to the soil and environmental concerns? Just trying to, I assume this is industry standard. And
yeah, for this application, above ground is the only way we've seen it done. Okay. And the reasons are primarily, as you said, environmental reasons to keep them above ground, as well as maintenance of the tanks and safety reasons to monitor the tanks.
And the enclosure would be, I think it said somebody would be there 24/7, 365, but it is locked and not accessible. Is that correct as well?
Correct, yeah, it's actually a full enclosure
Okay.
around the tanks, non-visible from the outside.
Okay, okay, all right. And that's it, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. You mentioned that this is a flammable liquid, right? That you are going to store. Beyond it being flammable, would it, if there is a leakage, there was some mention about vapors. Are those vapors considered hazardous as well? I suppose so, but is the nature, just flammable nature, or are there other characteristics of the liquid that make it more hazardous?
Do you want to answer that? Sure. Yeah, thanks.
The primary hazard is the flammable liquids, the vapors from the flammable liquids that are very ignitable. These are not what you would consider, as highly toxic as some other chemicals that we may deal with in industry. The flammable liquid aspect of it is the primary concern from a hazard. So,
just to reconfirm, this liquid is not considered toxic? Or are you saying that there is a scale on which?
yes, absolutely. You have different levels of toxicity, but the primary hazard for these liquids is the flammability. You don't want to drink them. I mean, but as far as, from the smell or inhalation, it's different from a level of toxicity. It's primarily the ingestion is where your primary concern would be from a toxicity. So
Okay. So no, you don't expect people to have reactions just from the vapors unless you have internally consumed it. Right?
Correct.
So
I mean, this is completely enclosed. I mean, all the processes are closed, so there will not be releases of the vapors.
Of course.
So
that's the best case scenario,
yeah,
right? I'm just asking if it happens, then is the, would people get affected by the vapors that will come out, right? That's the only question I'm asking.
Yeah. And so there will also be ventilation within the space as well, so that'll help provide dilution of all, of the vapors. But as far as release to like the community, that will not be, anything from a consideration standpoint would not be a concern.
Okay. You talked about OSHA and a whole bunch of others, but one that was not mentioned was EPA. I know the regulations have been diluted now, but what level of EPA compliance will be there? Would it be the diluted standards or the prior higher standards?
The EPA requirements will absolutely be adhered to. There'll be, there's secondary containment around, the tank facility to ensure the leaks. There's the stormwater management aspect of stuff. We also have, there will be most likely a VOC unit. So any discharges to the air will be either passed through some type of cryo-condensation unit or RTO or scrubber to remove volatile organics from the environment. So.
Okay. One final question, maybe this is to staff. You talked about exterior lighting. I would hope the facility is lit. You are just saying that plan may be coming later on. Like the comment around exterior lighting that you had in your presentation.
Yes, sir.
So I suppose the facility will require exterior lighting to be there so that, people can see whether if there is any leakage or whatever.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay, and you just wanted to say that the actual plan of the nature of exterior lighting will come later on.
Correct.
Okay.
It was just to allow some additional flexibility to get the timelines moving
Understood.
forward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Sounds like a good fit. I just have a couple of curiosity questions. It looks like you have one truck bay and about 20 tanks. How much traffic do you expect to be coming and going to those tanks every day?
Yeah, so roughly speaking, there's many tanks, and each tank is a different material. I think there's roughly 22 tanks in total. 5 of those are for waste, 17 of them are for raw materials. Roughly, the tank holds roughly a month's worth of material. So for each of those 7, so it's roughly, you can count the number, each of those tanks would be delivered once a month. With waste going out probably once a day. So it's very minimal truck traffic. And it's also, I just would like just to add to that, it's not a, although the facility will operate 24/7, the external deliveries coming into the facility are not 24/7 deliveries. It's not an urgent delivery. It's something that's scheduled in advance and comes in during normal business hours.
Are you doing any pre-treatment that goes into the city water, or does all of your waste stream go into the 5 tanks?
Yeah, there's treatment, right? I mean,
Well, the solvent waste, all the waste will be pumped to the storage facility and hauled off site.
Okay, and then you're thinking 1 truck a day for waste?
Yeah, generally speaking, yes. And so, studies have been done traffic-wise for the entire pathway development, and the addition of this operation fits well within the traffic patterns that have been put out for the pathway
Okay, thank you.
facility. Yep.
So you answered a lot of my questions also, and Chris asked two that I had. How does the material get from this facility to the facility where it's packaged?
Yeah, so, well, within the business park itself.
Correct, yeah.
Just a small van.
Okay, so you'll just, okay, so it's a powder material, it's not like there's any process piping or anything that,
No,
Okay.
no piping. It would be in a drum of sorts.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
and then, so it looks like this whole facility, it's up to a point and the top is open. I guess that's just for, in case there was a release, you don't want to contain it within that facility, correct? That's why there's a gap at the top of the,
That photo I showed was a different plant.
okay, so this would be fully enclosed, almost like it, to the outside, it would look like a building.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that was actually quite helpful to see that presentation, so thank you. Any discussion, I guess, outside of anybody else have any more questions that have a
Not a question, just curiosity. So you said like that industrial process wastewater that will be hauled offsite, right? So where are you going to take that used solvents? Where are you going to dispose that?
I don't know exactly.
I don't think the contract's been established yet.
I mean,
Some of it may be regenerated, distilled and purified and reintroduced at another use point, or incinerated, et cetera. So there's those are still being determined, I believe, as part of the business.
So will there contain any PFAS?
No, there will not be any PFAS.
No PFAS.
No. But I think the piece about the waste, I think it's just to be clear, the solvent waste is put into a separate truck and disposed of appropriately by a registered, certified incinerator it could be incinerated or whatever method you use. We talked about as far as contracts being established with those third parties have not been done yet. But of course, it's with a certified disposal organization.
Thank you.
Yeah.
anything else? Anybody have any discussion, or anybody want to make a motion and read out this? Do we feel like we've had enough questions answered to approve, or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any other questions. It seems like it makes sense and fits with overall town goals.
Yeah, same for me.
Okay. So, I mean, I feel like we've got pretty good consensus. Does someone want to make a motion and read we have the cheat sheet here?
Yes, I can. So I just make a motion and then read this whole thing?
Yeah, you would just say, I'd like to make a motion to
Okay.
recommend approval, and then
Okay.
do all of those things, or
All right.
we can take breaks if we need.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to approve I find the proposed zoning map amendment to be consistent with the town of Morrisville's comprehensive plan and in the public interest for the following reasons. A, the proposed conditional business activity center gateway overlay C-BAC-GO zoning district is compatible with surrounding zoning districts. B, the requested zoning map amendment would allow for development that is compatible with the developments in the surrounding area, thereby resulting in a logical and orderly development pattern. C, the requested rezoning is consistent with the land use plan's vision and the goal of promoting fiscally responsible development by strategically managing and promoting development that will bring high-paying jobs and economic development to benefit the town's residents and property owners. D, by including zoning conditions that permit flexibility to the UDO standards and support public safety and environmental protections. The proposed rezoning upholds the town's strategic plan goal of promoting a business-friendly environment to diversify the economic base and attract an educated and highly skilled workforce. And I hereby make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance 2026-98-0 of the Morrisville Town Council approving a zoning map amendment for a portion of 1800 Strand Street, a property located east of the intersection of McCrimmon Parkway and Strand Street, to the conditional business activity center gateway overlay zoning district res 26-0019.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And all in favor? Aye. Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
And thanks to the staff for the detailed presentation, and thank you guys for the detailed presentation. That was very helpful. We can move on to 7. I figured they would stay. Whenever you're ready, you can. I think they're out of here now.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. First off, want to welcome our newest member, Arthur Blue, to the board. Excited to have you. Also want to introduce to the board our new Development Services Coordinator. Brooke remains on leave, but Kathy Lewis, our new Development Services Coordinator, is the backup for Brooke. So you are going to see her sitting here at the next meeting doing that role. So want to introduce her to all of you as well. In terms of February activities, so we did get some new site plan applications in. There was an application received for the Mason Manor subdivision. That's a 9-lot subdivision at 1040 Church Street. To some of you, that may sound familiar. There was Mason Manor subdivision approved there a few years back. That approval expired, and so that project has now been revived by someone else. The site plan and construction application was also received for the new middle school that's planned on Paramount Parkway, adjacent to Wake Technical Community College. So excited to see that application in and that project under review and moving forward. And then we also received a site and construction plan application for a 1,700 space parking deck, and that is on the Spark Development site. So a lot of good activity there. In terms of town council approvals, we've talked at the last few meetings about the alternative transit study. Town council did accept that study at their last meeting. And for administrative approvals, staff did approve, it's a minor modification technically, but it's basically doubling the size of an existing building. It was a 77,000 square foot addition to the existing building at 401 Southport. That is the Forge Nano facility, which was one of our economic development incentive projects. So good to see that moving forward as well. And then in other news, some updates in the transportation world. The let date for the McCrimmon and NC 54 widening projects was delayed, pushed back from May of 2027 to July of 2027. But work on both of those projects continues. I think in the last meeting, we talked a little bit about some of the utility relocation work that is happening on NC 54 now. So another couple month delay, but still seeing momentum with those projects, which is good. Construction should be commencing on Airport Boulevard Phase 1 in April. So that is another transportation project that's getting ready to kick off. And then as the board knows, we are working on the update to the comprehensive transportation plan. So the next round of public engagement for that will run from March 23rd to April 24th. So encourage all of you to look out for those engagement opportunities. And then the consultant, as well as our transportation project manager, Brett Martin, will be at your next meeting on April 16th to provide an update and get some feedback from the Planning and Zoning Board as well. And that is all I have.
Thank you. So now we have board comments. We'll start off with Chris this time.
The Novartis presentation was good. Does it get captured online to save to notes? It would have been helpful to have that in advance. So I don't know what the process is for how we capture that documentation.
Yeah, it will have been caught in the video and live feed, but if you have interest in getting those petitioner presentations earlier in the future, we could have that discussion as well.
Okay, I was just curious.
It probably help the council to have in their package.
That's all, thanks.
I agree with Chris. It would have been helpful, prepare for that, and it would also be helpful for public records. I know it is captured in videos, but going through a 2-hour video versus having it part of the package will be helpful. Yeah, but other than that, thank you.
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Arthur.
Happy to be here. Glad to be here, and I look forward to working with everyone.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Again, thanks to all the hard work of staff for, I'm sure was a lot of back and forth to make that presentation come together. So, and then welcome everyone new. And that is it. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you.